Hey everybody, välkommen tillbaka. Tack för sist. If you're Norwegian, if you're not, thank you for the last time and welcome back. Hope everybody's having a fantastic week. I wanted to talk about something that I've thought a lot about over the years, since I was in my teens. And I've never really, I've talked about this to my kids, I've talked about it to friends, I've talked about it to lots of people, but I've never put it into like a kind of a brief video like I'm going to try and do now. And it's about relationships. How do you know when a relationship is working? How do you know when it's not? As a guy that's been around many decades now, I want to say I feel like I have it figured out. My wife and I have been together almost 30 years. I was married once before, kind of briefly, for about 5.5 years. And her and I are friends. I don't have any regrets on that. But I just was watching Landman with Billy Bob Thornton last night. And his daughter was going through kind of a breakup. And she's like, I want this to be the one to last. How do you know? How do you know when it's the one that's going to last? And he says, well, you don't. You don't know until you're finally in the last one. And I guess you don't even really know that. I believe I am. I'm pretty sure my wife believes she is. We're in this for the long haul, for the rest of our lives. But when you're younger, especially in your teens, early 20s, you want to think you got it all figured out. I know I did. I thought I knew everything. Which is hilarious when I look back on it now, because I was freaking clueless. And I want to talk about one relationship in particular. And I'm not going to mention any names. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus or hurt anybody's feelings. If that person ends up watching this video, which I think is unlikely, she might know who she is. She probably will know who she is. And I have nothing against that woman at all. There were lots of good times. But I guess what I'm trying to do is, maybe impart a little bit of advice if you're younger and you're looking to an old fart to maybe, hey, we're figuring out this whole life thing. I've got several kids in their 20s. I have a 24-year-old, a 27-year-old, and a 29-year-old that's about to turn 30. Actually, my youngest is 23. He's about to turn 24. And then I have a 33-year-old. So, they're going through different stages of life. Only one of them is married, and they seem to be in a very happy, stable relationship. So I know some of them are dealing with some of these life questions and how do you figure stuff out. So when I was in this relationship, it started when I was 19, and it dragged on and off for about 3 years. Now, granted, I was out of the country for 1.5 years of that, and we just kept in touch by mail off and on. There wasn't really any relationship there then. But when I got back, it dragged and it dragged and it dragged. There were lots of good moments, but there were lots of very, very frustrating moments for me as a guy. I let it drag on too long. Frankly, I did that with my first marriage too. My ex-wife is the one that kind of pulled the plug on our marriage. I'm very glad she did. I sincerely am thankful. I would have done it eventually. I just didn't have the cojones to do it. And I probably would have stuck around a couple more years. Anyway, back to this relationship from 19 to about 22 years old. We were actually technically engaged. There was no ring. But I asked her to marry me. She said yes. It just dragged on and on after that. There were lots of times I would try to say, if you're not really in this for the long haul, then let's end it. It's going to suck. But it always sucks to end a relationship. It's not fun, especially if you're on the getting broken up with end. And I've been on both ends of these things. It's a lot easier when you're the one breaking up. But frankly, I was the one that ended this one, and I did not want to end it. But it just, it got to the point where even as a 22-year-old, I realized, hey, that's my leg. Stop. I realized this guy right here is pecking the hell out of me. I realized it wasn't going anywhere. She was dragging her feet. She was undecided. She was a very religious person. I was kind of religious, but I was already on my way out the door. I've said it before in videos that I'm a spiritual guy. I'm not a religious guy. I have nothing against most religions that hate people and want to destroy people. Obviously, I'm against that. Ow! Stop it. Go on. So I finally did end this. I mean, we would go out in public, we'd be holding hands, and friends would show up, specifically guy friends, and all of a sudden we were holding hands behind her back, or she would just let go. And, you know, it started feeling like, are you ashamed of me? You don't want to be with me? It's cool. Let's end this. It's going to suck for a few weeks, like it always does. Hey, have you noticed in the background right here? This is really cool. Just a side topic. These chickens, they love digging themselves little holes, and they'll take dust baths in them. Like my wife's got this whole thing enclosed with plastic, as you can see here. And it keeps it fairly warm in here. It's about 30 degrees outside. I'd say it's closer to 50 in here. And so they take these baths. Anyway, side thing. It's kind of cool and interesting. So I guess what it boils down to, after this going on and off for a long time, I finally ended it. And I was devastated. I'm pretty sure I was in love with her. I wanted to marry her. I'm glad I didn't, because her and I kind of kept track of her off and on through the years. I haven't seen her in a long time, but we have very different lives. We would not have worked. And so I guess what I'm saying, if you're in a, and this happened in my marriage too. We were together, we dated for not a long time before we got married. She was 19, I was 25, although maturity-wise, I want to say I was younger than her. But we were both immature, not ready to be married. We both told each other many years later that neither one of us really wanted to get married. There was pressure in the church we were in. Again, she was more religious than I was. And it was pretty obvious it was over fairly quickly into the marriage. Within a few months. In fact, she left for a little while. Just a few months in. Should have been the end of it there. I'm glad it wasn't, because we ended up having my oldest daughter, who I love dearly. She's got 3 beautiful kids, a great husband, and another kid on the way. So our 6th granddaughter is on the way. June, I believe. So I don't have any regrets. I guess the regret I have is once our daughter was born, it was still obvious her and I were not cut out to be married. We were cut out to be friends. And we are to this day. In fact, I just saw her this last week. Went to a birthday party for a family member of hers and touched base with all my ex-in-laws. It was very cool. We're good friends. We don't see each other a lot, but it's cool. Everything's cool. I guess I've given one of my kids this advice in the past, where it's clear that a relationship is dragging and it's not going anywhere. One of you is not living up to the expectations of the other person, or vice versa, or both. Like with my ex-wife, you just realize we are such different people. We can't make this work. I mean, we can stay together forever. I know people that were very close to me that have been together for 35 years and they don't like each other. That's not a marriage. That is not a marriage. I like my wife a lot. I obviously love my wife. I like her a lot. Are we perfect? Hell no. We have our fights. They're very few these days. They used to be a lot more, and as you mature, get older, you learn to let some things go. So my advice, if you're watching this and you're in a tough relationship and you don't feel like it's going anywhere, I don't mean to be crass or mean or a dick or anything like that, but end it. If you have tried over and over, and I tried over and over with my ex-wife, I was not a perfect husband. She was not a perfect wife. She had a lot of good attributes. I feel like I've got a lot of good attributes, but the bad just didn't work together. So if you're in that kind of a relationship and you're struggling and you're wondering, should I keep going with this? My advice would be, if you've tried over and over, it's probably time to end it. Now, that kind of goes against what my channel has been about, which is positivity. But I do try to look at it in the future, because the fact that my ex-wife and I broke up, got divorced, led me to my wife and my family now. And I am a blessed guy. I work my ass off for what I have, and I work hard at my relationships. Anybody that tells you that marriage is a piece of cake, oh, we haven't had a fight in 75 years, something's going on there. There's something else there. Either the man's domineering or just controls his wife, or they just don't talk to each other. Because I have known hundreds of relationships in my life, and I just don't think that's possible. But the good should way, way, way outweigh the bad. If you're in a relationship where it's 50-50, or 50% of the time everything's great and 50% of the time it sucks, maybe 10% of the time it's horrible, that's not a relationship. That's not a healthy relationship. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you've tried and tried, I've already said it, move on. If you can make it work, make it work. If you think that person is the one, but you just got some glitches to work out, by all means, work them out. I'm not trying to say just blow up your relationship. That's not it at all. I'm talking about the people that have dealt with relationships like I just talked about. And, you know, like I said, I've been on the other end where it's me that's just not interested, and I can tell the girl, woman, whatever, depending on my age, is really into me. I'm not into her. It's happened the other way around too. I think I'm doing them a favor by moving on, because nothing's going to happen here. There's a lot of times I've known relationships where one of them knows this is temporary. This is not going to last. But I'm having fun with that person. Move on. Anyway, don't want to beat a dead horse too much. That's an awful phrase, right? Why would anybody beat a dead horse? So hopefully, you know, maybe you can pick out a couple of nuggets from this video that maybe help you in a relationship. Like I said, if you got a relationship that you think is salvageable and you love that person, you know they love you, but you just got to work through some shit, work through your shit. But if you know it's over, end it. Don't drag it out like I did. I dragged my marriage out for at least 2 years longer than I should have. I dragged that first relationship at least a year longer than I should have. And better stuff was waiting for me once it was done. So, in the spirit of my channel, do look at the positive. Do look at, there's a brighter day. There's going to be some dark days when you go through this. I know that. It's not easy. It's not fun. I have a video a few months ago. You can tell the video because it's dark. I'm by a fire pit, and I talk about working through a depression, and that was after my divorce. I was in a dark, dark place, and I came out of it, and it wasn't easy, and I'm not claiming that any of this is easy. Life can be tough, but it can be very rewarding. So I hope all of you have a fantastic week, that your lives are bright and happy, that you've got great relationships, great family, great friends. We are so blessed in all those areas, and I think whatever the greater power is, whether that's God, the universe, I don't know. Don't claim, ow! Don't claim to know. You know, I'm grateful. I'm blessed. So till nästa gång, vi snackas igen snart. Till next time, we will talk again soon. I hope you enjoy the videos. If you dig them, the thumbs up would be great. A subscription would be great. If you just want to watch them and hang out, that's cool too. If you don't like them, I understand. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And I understand everybody has different tastes. So you do you. I hope you're happy, and I will talk to you again soon. Peace. Love.